watching ABC4 News, celebrating 75 years.
Welcome back. Here at ABC4, we have been covering several high-profile cases involving domestic violence. Most recently, a man accused of killing his wife and her parents. And we also just obtained police reports involving a man police say killed his son and then took his own life over Mother's Day weekend. So today we're talking to someone who provides resources to victims of domestic violence. Joining us now, we have Blythe. She is the founder of Betrayal Trauma Recovery. Anne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Your organization is so interesting because you mentioned it bridges that gap between people who may not be physically abused but are being emotionally abused. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we know that physical abuse never happens by itself. It's always accompanied by emotional and psychological abuse. The clients we help also are victims of sexual coercion by their spouses when they are being lied to, deceived, manipulated in order to have a sexual relationship when they don't have all the information that they need. And so that type of ongoing coercive emotional and psychological abusive situation often does turn violent sometimes. And we have so many women who aren't sure about what's going on until a physical event happens, and that kind of opens their eyes. And they think, how did I not know? How was I not aware that this was abuse until, you know, the physical event occurred?
Which is absolutely heartbreaking to hear. And we were just looking over some police reports of a woman telling police for years, I'm worried he's going to do something, and not necessarily having that physical evidence, but it did, according to police, escalate to that point. What are some things that people should look for if they're not sure or they may be questioning this?
Learning about abuse dynamics is really important for everyone so that they can see it. With the Leah Moses case, the concern was that she was bringing that up repeatedly for 15 years. Right now in Cache Valley, there is a case where a man who has been pleaded guilty for child abuse, had 120 days in jail, got out, is accused now and arrested for sexual abuse. He today had his children had court-ordered visitation. And so, you know, it was very interesting in Leah's case where you have a murder and still some people are like, well, it was a high conflict situation, right? The murder itself is proof that he was abusive. In this Cache Valley case, it's like he's been arrested. Why are these children still court-ordered to go with someone who has been convicted of child abuse? So it's very interesting that the way that the courts are dealing with child abuse in custody cases is different than how they are dealing with it in criminal cases. And so a domestic abuse victim who maybe has a protective order, perhaps there's a charge for domestic violence, in a custody case can still be court-ordered to have interactions with her abuser, to make her, she has a court order to send her children with someone who she knows is abusive. This also happens with men the other way around, but just in Leah's case, because she's a woman, I'm speaking in that way. But so courts really need to understand what the dynamics are. And if in this Cache Valley case, you've got actual, you know, he's pled guilty and spent jail time, what is the burden of proof for victims? If that's not proof enough, what else are they looking for to say this person is unsafe to have custody of their children or even for visitation?
So what do we do at this point? We know what the problem is. We can see what's happening over and over in these cases. How do we address this so we don't see another instance like this?
That is currently the huge issue. Right now, there is no solution. And that is so heartbreaking to tell victims all over the state that are working very hard in order to protect their children. It breaks my heart every time I read a story like this. Leah was working toward passing Caden's Law, or the Keeping Children Safe from Family Violence Act, which educates court professionals about this type of abuse. That's a start. Writing your senators saying, why are known abusers when they have a safe parent being given custody or even visitation of their children. So that would be a start. Contacting your local domestic violence shelter and asking, what services do you have for victims who are divorced, who know that their ex is abusive? What services do you have to protect them in a custody case? Currently speaking, the answer is probably, I'm not sure, which is really sad. So we definitely need more education across the state on every single level. Everyone is doing the best they can and the funding's just not there, which is why Kayden's Law is so important to pass, because it comes with federal funding that would benefit everyone in our state, especially vulnerable children.
Blythe, thank you so much for joining us and talking about this very difficult topic. And we will be talking more about Kayden's Law as well moving forward. Before we go to break, though, if you or someone you know is facing domestic violence, please remember you are never alone. There are resources available 24 hours a day. If you call any of the numbers you see right there on your screen, you can get assistance. Stay with us. We'll be right back.